Welcome. I'm Dr. Lori Call, the Director of Educational Leadership Programs at Point Loma Nazarene University, and I want to officially welcome you to the team. Congratulations. We're so glad you're going to be a part of our programs. Today, the first step is to walk through the PASC and CASC onboarding handbook for the 2025-2026 year. So if you could now please have your either digital version or paper copy open and ready to follow along. Let's take a quick look at the table of contents. It shows you here how it's laid out in sections. There are sections for both program supporters, and there are sections specifically for just PASC and CASC. But before you can begin supporting candidates, you must complete the videos that are linked here on this page and submit the completion form. No candidates can be assigned to you until that is done. Your next question might be then, well, how am I placed with students? Well, once your training is done, you'll get an email from me, the program director, to support a new candidate. You'll reply to either confirm or in the message in the document. Once you've confirmed and you've received email confirmation that the candidate has also completed onboarding, you may then contact them to introduce yourself and begin to set up your meeting schedule. Next, let's talk about the role that you take as a PASC University supervisor. Here on this page, on page 4, you will see that it gives you some overview of your responsibilities. You will be assisting only with fieldwork unless you're also teaching, and you'll use task stream just up to the summer of 2025, and then we're switching to SL&L starting fall quad 1 2025. Talks about the fact that you need to meet weekly, contact them or at least touch base with them weekly, and that you'll be completing fieldwork and then submitting grades in Workday. So that brings me to platforms that we use. As a PASC supervisor, you will have a Canvas course that will be a resource to guide you through the quad. You will receive an email to invite to join. So the platforms that you're going to be using are Workday, SL&L, and then, of course, Google Email and Calendar. And then, just as I mentioned, you'll be using Canvas. So let's take a quick look. Here's what the dashboard looks like. Of course, you will not have as many courses as I do, hopefully. But let me just launch into, let's say the current course that they're going to be taking is 6007. So if you click into the course, there's information here that you will find: a welcome, an introduction to cycle 2 that is completed of the Cal APA in that course, suggestions of your schedule, what the fieldwork is for the course, and then week 1, what you do for week 1, what is a suggestion for week 2. These are all, of course, suggestions, not requirements, except for at the end, you must turn in the content into SL&L as evidence of completion. This is where you will also find the Loma Leadership Lounge. This is literally the most important thing next to your handbooks, including your onboarding handbook that you're using right now, to your knowledge and information. This is where everything will sit, all that content. So it welcomes you. It talks about onboarding, which I'll be adding this video there soon. Tells you a little bit about Professor Ledwell, our chat bot that we'll be using here in the fall. And then it breaks it down by programs. So preliminary admin here, and the clear admin here, specifically to your program. So this, you have been sent an email to join. Please say yes anytime you are sent an email to join a course, as it will be very helpful for you to be completing your requirements. Shifting back to page 4, I believe, on the role of the PASC University supervisor, this is just a summary. On another page, there is a larger version of this that we'll take a look at in a moment. So once you've received your confirmation that the candidate has completed onboarding, then you can introduce yourself, as I mentioned. On page 22, you'll find the more detailed listing of the role of the PASC supervisor. Talks about weekly coaching sessions, student development for EPP, CAPE alignment and reflective growth, formative feedback and inquiry. And it just gives you all of the information that's most important: ethics and confidentiality, how we communicate, and then moving into the early alert system that is extremely important in the success of our students. If you're having trouble with a candidate engaging or participating, this alert is incredibly critical to us keeping track of where they are in the process and not losing them, and therefore not having retention with them completing the course. This page on page 26 we'll talk a little bit more about, but this is where our foundations of what we stand on when it comes to coaching. My goal and our program goal is to be transformative coaches. Let's switch now to page 5, which is the summary of the role of the CASC supervisor, and more specifically, the name as coach. As a coach for the CASC program, you are serving as not only an instructor, but also a coach. You're doing both at the same time. The curriculum is built to guide you and candidates through all the collaboration, the discussions, and activities that will be required for each course. You will use Canvas to teach those courses, those 8 courses, 4 in year 1 and 4 in year 2. The more detailed information about the role of you, the CASC coach, is located on page 67. Much of the information is similar because the PASC supervisor needs to do some of the same things you do. However, we now shift from CAPES to capsules, the standards that we're focusing on, and we're really embedding what they do into an EPP, an equitable problem of practice. Talks about documentation, which we have to continue to do, our communications protocols. It talks also about the alert system and why it matters. A little bit into also professional ethics and confidentiality. And then into our transformational coaching based on Elaine Aguilar's work previously in the Art of Coaching and now in Arise. So that will talk about the core human needs in transformational coaching. We'll be doing this during professional development as we move forward. Your program requirements are also listed here for what the candidate needs to start the program and what the candidate needs to finish. There's one for both PASC and CASC. On page 7 and 8, you will see a list of what I call the special sauce here at Point Loma and what sets us apart from any other university. That we're a university of faith is one of the most important pieces, but our mission centers on servant leadership, equity, inclusive care, relationships, integrity, and Christ-centered leadership. Those are our goals. And on the next page, you will also find an onboarding checklist for the first 3 weeks of your participation in the program when you are assigned a candidate. What to do week 1, what to do week 2, and week 3, the things that you need to do to make sure you're off on the right foot. This year's professional development book is Arise by Elena Aguilar, as I mentioned previously. Focuses on the transformative coaching, so we'll be launching into that. You need to make sure you get your copy either mailed to you or from the Bakersfield Center. You will also have the access to our new chatbot that will hopefully be working by September 2nd. The chatbot is called Professor Leadwell, and he will have all the information, the knowledge that will be helpful in the middle of the night or when you can't get a hold of someone, including your buddy. So these pages are general, give general deadlines as suggested for a timeline for each quad. That's what. Next, as we look at the beginning of each section for the PASC program and the CASC, you will find for each program a roadmap that lays out the course structure and sequence. You'll find a list of the courses that are required for the Masters and the Masters of Science. Receiving a Master's and a Master of Science is only allowed to take place along with the preliminary, but not the clear. And then there's a scope and sequence for you that gives you basically some of the details of assessment, fieldwork, learning objectives, and conceptual framework. The PASC timelines that we have are tied to fieldwork cycles, and the CASC timelines follow the course and course sequence. As as we move and work together, again, I want to remind you that we are working towards transformative coaching, and that will be on page 26 for the preliminary admin, and then there will also be the same for the clear as I showed you previously. So to sum that up, our goal, is that coaching is about trust. It's about reflection, and then also connecting coursework to real practice. Now moving from specifically PASC or CASC support resources, we now move to an everyone resource, which is the equity apps for the supervisors, coaches, and instructors. You'll find here a lot of resources. This curriculum is in its 6th year of implementation here at Point Loma, and its 3rd published version that you will have access to now here in the fall. In the spring of 2026, the 4th version will be officially published and required by most candidates in both programs. Please be sure to take a look at the beginning overview pages, how it aligns with the CAPES and Cal APA and other context information, and become familiar to use this as helpful in the supervising and coaching process. This goal is to begin using the context and foundation in both programs, so we're using the same terminology. Here you'll find the very first event 1, Task 1, that begins here. But the introduction to Event 1, you'll have first a student page of what students will see, and then following you'll have a facilitator page to provide guidance for you to initiate conversation that are offline or as part of what you do in your weekly work together. On pages 16 to 21, this will give you a list and a place to take notes of the alignment of fieldwork with the Cal APA cycles. There are 3 cycles that will take place in 3 courses and 3 other courses that are non-APA related. So this is where you'll find the details up here at the top. It'll remind you and give you a nice list and a place to take notes. It's available in many other locations, but this place would be a place to take notes. Starting on page 59 are the details of the fieldwork for CASC candidates, which fieldwork is not separate as it happens to be in the PASC program or embedded. It is integrated into all the coursework and culminates in the capstone. The capstone is actually event 4 of the equity apps that we're going to get to soon, or that we just. On page 59 starting, you'll see the same pages that outline requirements for CASC candidates, starting with GEL 7011. Each course focuses on 1 capsule at a time, and they begin working on their capstone final project from the very beginning, and that is mirrored in the equity apps as event 4. They practice it with a fictional school in the preliminary admin courses, and then in their clear admin courses, they complete the capstone project based on event 4, but in their own school in real time with their students and teachers. Well, thank you for your dedication. And I know I have not created an exhaustive list in this video of all the information that you'll find, but hopefully you'll be the frosting on the top so that you can dig in and really get into that content more deeply to prepare yourself. As a reminder, you want to make sure you complete this video, the equity training video. Notate here that you've completed. A copy of the handbook is here for onboarding. And then let me know if you can submit your information to share with others, your phone number to converse with others and to text one another, and then a link to put your information in for your birthday so that I can send you a birthday card. This is the location where all of that information is for, and I'm ready and excited to confirm your placement through completion of onboarding, and you're ready to begin.